is the last time in the last class we are discussing about this particular topic about the inspection of the gears. In that measurement of tooth thickness, one of the element of the gear is the thickness of the tooth. Right. With respect to this, we were discussing in the previous class. Right. So tooth thickness usually will be measured at the pitch circle. You can observe over here. Either it can be for the gear or it can be for the pinion. It will be measured at the pitch circle. Right. And to measure this thickness of the tooth, so basically these methods or this particular element, individual element which you are going to measure, it is a tooth thickness. It is because during the manufacturing of the gears, in order to make sure that the quality gear with the precision it is being manufactured or not, right? The quality for the measurement purpose, for the inspection purpose, whether it is accepted or not. One of the main element in the gear, it is the tooth thickness. That is the one of the element, right, in the gear. That is what we are discussing now, actually, right? There are different methods of inspecting the gear. One of the element of the gear, that is the tooth thickness. So the first one is, in the last class what we discussed is the tooth measurement of the tooth thickness by gear tooth vernier caliper. It is also called cardal thickness method. That is the one we have discussed, right? The second method what we are going to discuss today is constant card method. This we are going to discuss now, right? So this is the first method what we discussed in the previous class. So this is the experiment individually you are going to conduct in the M lab also, right? Gear tooth vernier caliper. It is similar to the vernier caliper what you are using, but rather than having only the horizontal scale, it is also having the vertical scale for it, so that both width as well as the depth of the tooth can be measured. In this case, only one tooth at a time it can able to measure the thickness of the tooth with respect to the pitch circle is concerned. You can observe on the screen, right? It is also called cardal thickness method, right? So these two we discussed in the last class: cardal thickness, cardal addendum, right? This is with respect to W. This is with respect to small d. Right? So this is with respect to W. This is with respect to d. By substituting these values, you can able to get the width, that is the W, for the given tooth A. W means it is the cardal thickness, the width of it. Then the cardal addendum, that is the small d, you can able to achieve, right? This is the first method of measuring or inspecting the one of the element of the gear. It is the thickness of the tooth, right? So second method, gear tooth thickness measurement by constant card method. See here, in the first point, what you can able to observe on the screen over here. If you take the gear tooth vernier caliper, right, the first method, see both the cardal thickness, the W, see this is the equation what you have achieved, right? This cardal thickness, what you are observing here, this is the equation in the last case what we discussed, right? And the cardal addendum, the small d. So this is the equation for it. See, for these two equations, right? What is the one thing it is common? What you can able to observe in these two equations, whether with respect to caudal thickness is concerned or with respect to caudal addendum is concerned, what is the common thing
N, sir,
in
N.
the n value, right? See here, both depends on the value of n. See, n represent number of teeth. You can observe here, I made it in the yellow color so that you can able to observe it. Caudal thickness W is this one, caudal addendum is this, right? So in both the cases, n is the common thing. That is number of teeth if the gear blank changes, if the number of tooth in a given set, if it changes, then you have to do the calculation again and again. That is, it will become time consuming more, right? See the second point. See, for measuring a large number of gears for set. See, set here represent if it is more than 2 or 3 gears with a different number of teeths. So if number of teeth, if it going to vary, there is the value of n. So separate calculation you need to be make in a given gear set. If it keep on changing the number of tooths for the given gear set, for that separate calculation need to be done. So for that separate calculation, each time it will be the procedure of doing, because you are doing the inspection, you are doing the measurement of the component, so that you can able to make it accepted or not, in order to control the manufacturing process of the gears. So during that inspection, the procedure, this type of procedure will become laborious and more time consuming. So not to overcome this time consumption and process of having the laborious one, because each time the number of tooth going to vary, that numbers you have to calculate, then again you have to substitute, you have to get the value, then you have to do the inspection of the gears, given gear blank in a given set. See that process or that obstacle can be overcome by using the constant card method, right? The constant card method, the second method, it gives away the whatever the disadvantages is there in the first method, right? See the last point, constant card of a gear is measured where both flank touch the flank of the basic rack. You can observe this image, see the cursor, this is the rack and pinion arrangement, right? Assume this is the rack and pinion arrangement. In this example, this is the rack, what it is talking about. The constant chord of a gear is measured where the tooth flank touch the flank of the basic rack. You can observe here, right? The teeth of the rack are straight. This is the tooth of the rack. These are straight and inclined to the center lines at pressure angles, right? This junction at which it making the contact, at that point for the gear tooth, we are going to consider as the constant chord. The previous one, the first method is constant, it is chordal thickness method. This is constant chord, right? Irrespective of the number of tooth. See here, since the gear tooth and rack space are in contact in the symmetrical positions, at the point of contact of flank, the chord is constant at this position irrespective of the gear of the system in mesh with the rack, irrespective of the tooth which come in meshing with the rack, irrespective of that, the position of that remains the constant, the position, right? You can observe here, there is a rack and pinion, irrespective of any gear tooth come in contact with this rack, it remain the constant position, right? It has to come in contact and make the contact with the flank of the rack with this, right? So this is the property of which it is used to or utilized to for this second method of measuring the gear tooth thickness. Overall, it will avoid or it will remove the dependency on the n value, number of teeth, because in a given set, if the gear numbers vary, then again the time consumption will be more. In order to overcome that, this method is being introduced, constant chord method. This rack and pinion figure I will explain again in the next slide, right? You understood, right? So this is what actually the reason of having this constant chord method. You can observe here the same image I have taken here, rack and pinion, right? So this is the rack pitch line, what you are observing, pitch line of the rack, and this is the pitch circle of this gear, right? See, both will come in contact at this point, pitch point, right? The constant chord method, in order to get the equation, they will consider the one of the meshing of the tooth with the rack, right? This is the consideration. This what you can able to see on this screen. This is the one of the gear, right? You can observe here, right? This is the rack, right? With respect to this, I'm explaining, right? What you are seeing on the screen, this junction, right? This junction is being enlarged, and I have shown it over here in this image. Whatever the machine, what is going to happen with this gear and the rack at this point, I enlarge it, and this here it represents the rack. You can observe here a rack form, right? This portion. Then here, what you can able to see the profile of the tooth. This is actually the pitch circle. That means it is with respect to the gear. You can observe here, right? This particular element is the gear, and this line what you are observing, it is with respect to the rack. So this is gear, this is rack. This particular gear is being considered here in this particular example, right? And these lines what you are observing here on the screen, you can observe, right? The red lines, those are these lines, rack form, right? So this particular image is considered to define the constant chord method, that is to get the equation, right? See, a constant chord can be defined as the chord joining those 2 points on the opposite faces of the tooth, which make contact with the mating teeth. See, when the center of the tooth lies on the line of the gear centers. So as the number of teeth varies, if you take the example of gear tooth vernier caliper, the first method, as the number of teeth varies, the value of tooth thickness W and D can be changed. For that reason, the process become laborious. So to avoid that, to overcome that, this particular constant chord method is being using, right? So this particular image we will consider again in the next slide, right? So don't get confused, right? This is the gear with respect to this. You can observe here, right? This is the rack. The meshing of these two is being taken over here with the some of the denotions, A, B, C, D, E, F denotions that we will discuss in the coming slide. See what you are observing here now, the red color line, A to B, this is the constant chord method. This is the constant chord. You can observe here, the same image I have taken here. This red color line represent the constant chord. See, when the gear rotates, see this, when it rotates, and all teeth come in contact with the rack, then for the given size of the tooth, the contact always take place at point A and B. Here in this point, from this point to A to B, it always make the contact. This distance AB remains the constant. Irrespective of any tooth make the meshing with this rack, this distance will remain the constant, and this distance is considered as the constant chord A to B. This is considered as constant chord AB. So that's why here I have shown it in the red color thick line. And this green color line, what you can observe here, this is the pitch line of the rack. So pitch circle of the gear, you can observe here. This is the pitch circle of the gear. This is the pitch line of the rack. So both will come in contact pitch point. But here A to B, which make the contact with the flank of this and flank of this. That is the called constant chord. Right? See now the same image I have taken here. So I'll define it again. Constant chord. The constant chord is defined as a chord joining those points. You can observe here on this image those points on opposite faces of the tooth. So this is the tooth. On opposite faces of the tooth, it makes the contact which make contact with the mating teeth. So here it comes in contact with the teeth, right? Make contact with this another one. When the center line of the tooth lies on the line of the gear centers. So this represents the constant chord which come in contact with the other mating rack, right? So here constant chord length W, the depth height. In the previous one, in the K2 Dornier caliper, it is represented as W and small d, right? So now here it is represented by capital H, but actually it is the small h only, right? Here, this one. So W is this constant chord, the width, and H depth is this one, right? So we're going to discuss now the equations for these two parameters: constant chordal length W and this depth H. So to get the equation for the chordal length now, chordal length means for this W value. Right? For this image, consider the triangle DAE. You can consider a triangle DAE. You can observe here D is here, A as well as E, right? DAE. This triangle I have considered here, right? DAE. This is the angle subtended phi, and here the 90-degree angle. So from this triangle DAE, that angle DAE, it is pi. Cos pi is equal to cos theta is equal to adjacent by hypotenuse trigonometric function. So adjacent for this particular triangle, adjacent is this value, that is A to D. Then hypotenuse is D, this particular length. So cos pi is equal to AD by D. So AD will become D cos pi. So AD is equal to D cos pi. This DA value you can observe over here. This DA value you can observe over here how it got it. 1 by 4 by M. See D, you can observe here DE, the length of this DE will be equal to length of this DF, right? Which is nothing but arc DG. This arc, right? Arc DG. So which will equal to 1/4 of the pitch, circular pitch. That's why 1 by 4 pi into M. That 1 by 4 pi M is what is taken over here. AD is equal to 1 by 4 pi M into cos pi, the DE value, right? Now one more triangle we will consider DCA. Consider triangle DCA. So D is here, C is here, and A is here. This triangle now we're going to consider DCA. So for convenient purpose, I have selected here DCA, right? So now the angle separated at the A is pi. So again cos pi, adjacent by hypotenuse, adjacent is this value CA by AD. So CA can be written in terms of AD into cos pi, that is 1 by 4, that AD value here, right? That is here it is being given 1 by 4 pi into M. So 1 by 4 pi M. So cos pi into cos pi. AD value here it is given 1 cos pi is here and one more from this equation. So finally it will become cos square pi pi M by 4. So chordal length AB, this red color marking what it is being here in the main image, AB equal to 2 times the length of CA After doing all this substitution, you're going to get this chordal length. That is this chordal length. You can write in terms of the W, right? So cos square pi cos square phi pi m by 2. As you compare with the previous one, this is constant chordal method. As you consider the equation with respect to the gear tooth vernier caliper, this value, the W, it is actually nm sin 90 by n. It depends on the value of n, number of teeth, W. But here, now, in this constant chordal method, this value does not have any n in it, right? Number of teeth. So that whatever the discrepancy will be there in that method, first method, gear tooth vernier caliper method, it can be overcome using this constant chordal method, right? This is with respect to W. Now with respect to this H, we'll get one more equation. See again the same image here considered. With respect to this, we're going to discuss now H. You can observe on the screen. Now the depth H can be calculated as follows. Now consider this triangle DAC. See, D is here, AC, right? This triangle consider here. Pi is the angle subtended over here, DAC. See, from this triangle, sine pi is equal to CD by AD, because sine theta, a trigonometric function sine theta is equal to opposite by hypotenuse. For this angle subtended, opposite is this value, right? This is opposite. So CD by hypotenuse is this side AD. So CD by AD. Now you can write in terms of CD is equal to AD sine pi. So this AD, the value of AD is 1 by 4 pi m cos pi. You can observe in the previous one, the value of AD 1 by 4 pi m cos pi. This it has been taken in the next here, right? So 1 by 4 pi m cos pi. This sin pi is what you are seeing, sin. So these are the two equations. One is with respect to the chordal length, the W, and this is with respect to the depth, right? So here represented by small h. See, both the equation does not have the value of n. So n is number of teeth. This is the constant chord thickness method, right? As you can see the previous one, there is the first method, gear tooth vernier caliper method. The two equations both are dependent on the value of the n, right? Number of teeth, you can observe over here on the screen. Number of teeth n, here also n. So for that reason, the process or the procedure could have become laborious and time consuming. That could be overcome by using this constant chord method, which removes the value of the n, right? And here there is no numerical for you people, so that no need to worry, only the derivation, right? This also uh, sometimes in the video question we will going to ask to get the equation for the measurement of the gear tooth thickness by using constant chord method. So one is with respect to W with respect to the width, another with respect to the depth is concerned. So this is constant chord. AB on this particular gear represent constant chord. Right? So this is the image I've taken again, the slide. Right? See, we are discussing about the measurement of the tooth thickness, one of the element in the gear tooth. First one we discussed in the last class, the tooth thickness by gear tooth vernier caliper. In order to overcome the disadvantages of this, the second method is being introduced, constant chordal method. One more method, the third method, here you can observe base tangent method, that we will going to discuss now. Base tangent method. See, all these methods is being introduced because to overcome the demerits or disadvantage of the previous methods only, right? Because the method which is being developed, the newer and newer one, it is having the more advantage coming to the previous methods. So here also this base tangent method, you can observe here the main objective here is to measurement over multiple tooth of the given gear tooth. Whereas the previous one, if you take the gear tooth vernier caliper method, one tooth at a time, right? You can observe here the disadvantages of that. The measurement of tooth thickness by using gear tooth vernier caliper method. That is the first method, right? Some of the disadvantages. The vernier is not reliable to closer than 0.02 millimeter. The least count of vernier caliper is, or gear tooth vernier caliper is, the last place I told, it is same. That is 0.02 millimeter. Close to those values, it is not reliable, right? Accurate value it not be providable. Again, this another disadvantage of this gear tooth vernier caliper is the measurement depend on two readings. The measurement depends on two readings, D and C or W. So W is the caudal thickness, W value, and D is the caudal addendum. That is the depth. It depends on the two values. You seen, right? The in the gear tooth vernier caliper method, two equations you you discussed. One is with respect to W, other with respect to the depth. Depends on those two values. There is another disadvantage. The third disadvantage is the measurement is made with the edges of the measuring jaws, not their faces, which does not lend itself to the accurate measurement. You can observe here in this image, gear tooth vernier caliper. You can observe here. See only one tooth at a time, right? And these are the edges of the measuring jaws, which come in contact with the pitch circle. Making this alignment is little bit cumbersome, right? It is difficult to have those jaws, the edges of the jaws, to come in contact only at the pitch circle, which may be difficult, or if it is not being set properly, it won't give the accurate values. You can observe on this screen over here, right? The gear tooth, even though the tooth depth is still here, but in order to get the thickness, you need to come in contact only at the pitch circle. So there is the one disadvantage, right? And also it depends on these two values, W and D. That is what is written. W, you can observe the cursor on the screen, W and D. So these are some of the disadvantages by using this gear tooth vernier caliper. And this experiment you will going to perform in the M lab individually. So in order to overcome these disadvantages, this base tangent method is being employed. Base tangent method is being employed. This base tangent method, it uses measurement over multiple tooth. Here you can observe it is measuring only with respect to only one tooth at a time. But this measurement over multiple teeth, right? See, this problem can be overcome by measuring the span. You can see on the screen, it measures the span. That's why here span is the important element. That's why I marked in a different color. Span over a convenient number. Convenient number means instead of measuring only with respect to one gear tooth, here in this method, it will measure for a convenient span length. That is with respect to 3 teeth, 4 or 5 number of tooths it will take. That is called the span. Instead of measuring only on one gear tooth, which may not be feasible enough to get the accurate value, this method uses the span. So what do you mean by span? Here you can observe on the screen, span measurement. This is what the span is. You can observe this, the first image. Here it is measuring only on one gear tooth with respect to the edges of the measuring jaws of the gear tooth vernier caliper, but that has been overcome in this. See here, it has been considering 3 tooth, and here these values, it depends, right? How to select these number of teeth, we'll explain in the coming slides. This W, now what you are observing, this is the span measurement. Now this is the width. Earlier, you can observe here, only this is the W. You can observe on the screen, the cursor, this is the W with respect to only one gear tooth. Now this W has been enhanced. It is the span from this measuring point to this measuring point. So no more measuring edges now, measuring jaws, right? It is because these are the one measuring anvils which come in contact with the gear tooth. So you can able to do the measurement at a better accuracy span. See here, this principle consists of measuring the distance between the flanks of together laying teeth. So this is the flank of the one gear tooth. This is the flank. From flank to flank, it is going to do the measurement. So this provide accurate indication about the tooth thickness and requires a precise caliper or a micrometer, no special instruments. Choose a number of tooth such that the measurement is made approximately at the pitch circle, approximately at the pitch circle of the gear. At this point, the tooth form is most likely to conform to the true involute. So if you take the flank of this, so it will make the contact with the pitch circle. As compared to the previous one, here these edges of the measuring jaws should exactly come in contact with the pitch circle in order to get the accurate value. But here these things will come in contact with the flank. So approximately on an average, on in a general, this will come in contact with the pitch circle, irrespective of whether you will notice or not. So that is what this particular method is about, right? Base tangent method. The tangent, right, as the name implies, it is with respect to the tangent with respect to this, right? So these are the two instruments which can be able to use to do the span measurement, right? See the first one, what you are seeing on the screen, it is called flange micrometer. This can be used, or the second one, David Brown tangent comparator, or simply it is called tangent comparator. This can also be used. Either this, the first one, or the second one can be used to do the measurement of this span measurement. What you are observing on the screen, this image, right? These are actually these, right? Flange micrometer. You can observe on this image, it is not only on the single tooth, it is on the more than single. That is either it will be on the 3, 4, or 5 tooth altogether. You can observe here, right? Between the fixed on the moving anvils, right? In between that, number of teeth will be more, not only single tooth. This is the flange micrometer. This can be used, or this comparator can be used. It is tangent comparator. It is called David Brown tangent comparator, right? See here, the base tangent method. Here, some of the important points in the base tangent method. It is most commonly used method for checking the tooth thickness of gear. Why it is most common method? Because so many disadvantages we come across, right? A few of the disadvantages are the 3 disadvantages what we have discussed in the previous one, right? Because of these disadvantages, what you can able to see, the vernier is not reliable for these dimension, and it depends on two values W and D, and each time the edge of the measuring jaws has to come in contact with the face, so it may not provide the accurate measurement. So in order to overcome these, the base tangent method has been introduced, and for that reason it is the most commonly use method for checking the true thickness of gear. The advantage of this base tangent method, you can observe here, the advantage is that it depends only on one vernier reading. Earlier in this gear tooth vernier caliper, you have to take this reading also, horizontal scale, vertical scale also. You have to read it manually, right? Now here the advantage in this one, it depends only on one vernier reading. You can observe in this, only one reading of this is enough. Or if you take this comparator, only one reading, micrometer reading, it is enough. No need to go for two readings. So the time consuming is reduced, right? See, unlike gear tooth vernier caliper where we require two vernier readings. So this is the advantage of this base tangent method. I hope all of you are understanding what I am trying to explain, right? The third point in this base tangent method is the base tangent length is the distance between the two parallel planes which are tangent to the opposing tooth flanks. Right? I'll show it in the next slide. This one. See, fourth point, the number of teeth over which the measurement is to be made for a particular gear. That means here it is being mentioned as over the three tooths. It is not mandatory that always you have to use for the three tooths only. It can be 4, it can be 5 also. You can see in this screen, on the screen here, the span, the convenient number. It can be 3, 4 or 5 number of tooths, right? But how to select whether it is for 3 tooth, 4 tooth or the 5 tooth for the measurement of the span? That it actually depends on the, it taken from the gear handbook, right? It actually taken from the gear handbook. You can observe in the last point, number of teeth over which the measurement is to be made for a particular gear is selected from the gear handbook. One example of that I will show in the coming slide. Gear handbook. Because in order to decide whether that number of tooth, whether it is 3, 4 or 5, how to select. It is standard values are there. Based on that, they're going to select it. Right? This is the most common method, and this the advantage. This is having the advantage over the vernier caliper method. That is the gear tooth vernier caliper method. See, observe now. This is the tangent. That's why the name it is given base tangent. It is with respect to base circle. That's why base tangent method. So measurement over multiple tooth, not only single or multiple tooth at a time. It's going to take the span length for the measurement purpose. See here, we are considering this tangent comparator. You can observe over here, flange micrometer or David Brown tangent comparator can be used for measuring the span. Now we will go to consider this comparator, right? Hello. See, all of you can able to observe, all of you can able to listen, or
yes, sir.
then I hope someone is having problem. Akash. Akash.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. So in this method, the span of convenient number of tooth is measured with the help of tangent comparator, right? David Brown tangent comparator, or simply called tangent comparator. In this discussion, we'll consider only this as a instrument for measuring the span. The measurement is done by using micrometer with anvils. You can observe here, This is the one anvil, right? There is one more anvil. This is the micrometer. Only one value it is sufficient to measure the span, right? See, there are two anvils used in this method. You can observe here two anvils. One is this, another one is this, right? See, one is fixed anvil. You can observe here on the screen, and the other one is movable anvil. And micrometer on this movable anvil. So this is the one which you can able to take the reading for the span on the 3, 4 or 5 tooths. See, this is comparator, right? David Brown tangent comparator. As all of you know, comparator is a tool which is used to do the checking, right? Does it provide exact value? It always going to provide the difference from standard dimension and the actual dimension, right? Comparator. Similarly, here also, this is a tangent comparator. It is also a comparator. It compare with the standard and the component which is going to inspecting, and it is going to mention only the differences. And that standard here, it is the slip gauge. You can observe here the distance for S. This you can observe the dimension to gauge block. This is represented as S here, are calculated and set with the help of slip gauges. Here also they are going to consider the slip gauge. Why slip gauge? Because it is a comparator. First it has to take the standard value slip gauges, then it has to compare with this the given instrument or given component. See, the distance W theoretical and actual is verified for any differences. If any differences are there, then it will be verified. Now we can observe here this in the next slide, how the slip gauge will be set in between these two anvils, fixed and moving anvil. In the next slide, you can observe here. So this is David Brown tangent comparator. You can observe these are the slip gauges. What you can observe on the screen, because it is a comparator. It can only do the comparison with the standard and the values which need to be inspected. Right? This is the micrometer moving anvil, fixed anvil. First they will set this slip gauges, then they will take the reading, then slip gauge will be removed, and then it will be replaced onto this given component, that is the given gear blank. So this is the final equation which represent the span length, or you can call it as the W value, right? Nm cos pi into tan pi minus pi plus pi by 2n plus pi s by n, right? So this is how they're going to set the slip gauge, and then this is how they're going to measure on the given component by using David Brown tangent comparator. So this is the final equation which is represented here. You can observe here, right? That means this equation represent this distance, the span length. So here some of the denotations. S represent number of tooth spaced. Here in this equation, S is there. S is number of tooth spaced here. That is 3, 2, 4, 5. Right? There is the S value. Pi is the pressure angle. N represent number of tooth, and M is the module. See here, this is what that data handbook values, standard value, what you told. Right? Direct value of D, this are available for different S, N and M values. S represent number of gear tooth, N represent number of teeth, M is the module. And here just one example of for N value here I have shown from the data handbook. These are all standard values. Suppose if the tooth on the gear, if it is from 10 to 18, then S value will become 2. That is the meaning. If the number of tooth for the given gear blank, if it is in the range of 19 to 27, then this distance, right? The S, then how many teeth should be considered between the two anvil? That is 3 teeth to be spanned. S value, it is 3. So it is not that it is not fixed, or it is not mandated to select only the 3 tooth or 4 tooth always, depending on the number of tooth available on the given gear blank. From this standard value, they are going to consider whether it is, you have to consider 4 tooth, 5, 6, or on the 7, based on number of tooth. If it is 55 to 63 tooth, then 7 tooth together we are going to consider as a span between the two anvils. Then they're going to do the calculations with respect to this equation. Then they'll get this value. Right? So this is called base tangent method. So measurement over multiple tooth, rather than measuring only on a single tooth. Here measuring on multiple tooth to overcome the disadvantages or demerit of the gear tooth vernier caliper method, which what we discussed in the first one. So